Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Positivity Podcast on Anfield Index. My name is Matt McElroy, and I will be your moderator for today's discussion. I am joined by Lubo Murkoff and Paul Jenkins. Lubo, how are you doing?
I'm good. I just realized that Gags has taken away all privileges and rights that I had on Discord. I think he's trying to prevent that coup that I have been promising for a while here. But it is still happening, Gags. It is still happening.
Well, good luck with that, Lubo. And Paul, how are you doing?
I am doing superb. It's really weird. Every time we do a positivity podcast, the sun is shining in Northern Ireland. Literally this whole week, it has been dull and overcast, and there's been rain, and I tried to cut the lawn yesterday, and it was pouring out of the heavens at times. We come to do a podcast, and it is like 22 degrees, and it's roasting. So yeah, I am doing very well tonight. I've just had a nice rack of ribs, and I've had a really good day with that, smoking some meat. So yes, I am in top positive form tonight.
Awesome. Sounds like a good place to be in. And, here in Seattle, it is finally not raining, and we're doing a podcast. The sun is about to come out. The marine layer is burning off. It's going to be a beautiful day. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest joining us. Yes, Justin Wells is the host of the U.S. podcast on Anfield Index and the chairperson of LFC New York. Welcome, Justin. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's a really nice day out here in New York. So gonna try to get outside for a little bit after this, but really excited to talk about Liverpool Football Club, a really good team, and not have it devolve into doom and gloom.
Yes, fantastic. We're happy to have you. So before we get started on our discussion, I want to remind everyone that we are once again recording live on AI Discord. If you are listening along and you have questions as we go, just go ahead and pop them in the chat and tag me. So as we go to our opening question, Lubo has asked, how is everybody's summer going? Paul, how is your summer?
Yeah, my summer has been grand. It's good. So we're in the process of trying to buy our house, which is a fun activity. So we had summer holidays booked, and we actually had to cancel them. But that's no bad thing, because we've been obviously trying to put plans in place to buy this place. So then that's a positive angle on not getting away anywhere. And as I say, it's been raining for the past wee while, so it's not really a big issue. But yeah, summer has been good so far, and work has been crazy. So I can't really complain. Life is good.
Sounds really good. And good luck with the house purchase. So,
thank you,
Justin. How has your summer been so far?
It's been really good. I've gotten my fair share of going to baseball games, which is the other thing that I love. Besides watching Liverpool. My wife and I actually just planned, a weekend getaway for next month, going to Charleston, South Carolina, a place I've never been, but I've heard is very nice. And also just actually getting the season planned for LFCNY. We're really trying to get everything together so we can launch our season's membership ahead of the Community Shield to make sure that, we're ready for the season to come, because I think that there's going to be so many games. The schedule is going to be relentless, and that takes a lot of work. But, it's work I enjoy doing.
Yeah. So what all are you planning in terms of what's going on there with LFCNY?
So membership launch, the way in which it's going to work for us is typically it's about getting that year's member T-shirt, member cards, and member pins printed. and so that we can start actually just ensuring that the members who sign up and pay get the merch out of it, and then just working with our partner bars to make sure that they're all ready for the season to come. Gonna try to get a uh, you know rotation of people going to all of our partner bars and not just 11th Street for the first few games of the season, to try to make sure that we show our face and do in-person signups there as well. So it's just a lot of logistics around that, and also more boringly, we are also trying to migrate websites and web server hosts. So there's just some technology project management that's also happening on my end of this, but it's mainly around just making sure that we're trying to get everything in place to give people who go to our partner bars the best atmosphere they could have on a match day. And that's what it's really about, building that community and just doing the groundwork to make sure that it has places to go.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good amount of work to create community and connections within the local area there in New York.
It is, and we have a really great team of people who volunteer. We have a really great team volunteer as well too, and it's a volunteer job, but at the same time, you can always control the kind of communities you build, and you can make them really fun, positive, and inclusive. It's just you have to try with it.
Yeah, so if you are in the New York area, you should definitely check out the NY group. And so, Lubo, how has your summer been?
My summer's been actually crazy with travel. So it started from right before the last game against Wolves. I was in Berlin and Liverpool. And since then, it feels like every other week I've been traveling for business. And I have more plans at the end of the month to fly to the West Coast. So from that perspective, it's been good. I've actually realized how much I missed traveling. Maybe just the antidote to the pandemic. And then the other thing that I mentioned earlier, but I started CrossFitting again, and this is the first week since the pandemic started that I've gone, and it's been brutal. But I feel I've almost pushed all the lactate out of my muscles. So hopefully next week is a little bit more enjoyable.
So is this your first rounds of travel since the pandemic?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I started in mid-May and then all through June, and it's going to continue in July and a little bit in August as well. But yeah, it's since the pandemic started, and I've enjoyed it. I used to travel a lot for previous jobs, and for a while I hated the plane thing because I just got done so much of it. But now it's back to normal, it feels, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm actually getting that what is that called, the TSA pass, or is it the global pass? Just because
global
I'm
entry.
Yeah, global entry, because I'm sick and tired of the long security lines at Newark Airport. So finally I'm just gonna pay $80, and I need to go and get the passport verified and the background check, whatever they need to do, just so I can actually get through the gate a little bit faster. But otherwise it's been good.
Yeah, I've had global entry for some years, and it's definitely the way to go. The process isn't too bad.
No.
And like, speaking of travel, like this week was the first time I'd been on a plane in 2.5 years, so that was sort of a different experience, sort of a reminder of what life used to be like when I used to travel places. And we went to Alaska for a fishing trip, and that was a lot of fun and a good way to start the summer out. So after 3 days, I think we caught about, like our boat caught about 400 pounds of fish, and we got to bring home about 150 pounds, completely filled up the freezer. So now I'm looking forward to having fish for the next year or so.
That is crazy. 150 pounds of fish. That's a lot.
Yes. And like, for the most part, the seas and the weather were calm and good, and just had a really good experience. This is my first time ever going fishing, and so to have that kind of a haul and getting such a good variety of fish was quite exciting.
You really didn't dip your toe in the water there. You dove in head first.
Yeah. There's no reason to go for something easy. You just go to where all the fish is, and you can have a good time.
You make it sound so easy there, Matt. Just any fishers who are
I
listening,
mean, so
just go to where the fish are. It's easy.
I mean, so like the thing about Alaska is they catch like 5 million pounds of fish, or some crazy amount of fish. So since it's like the fishing season, it just seemed like in looking around where we were, there's all these boats, and just like every person who's like on one of those boats with a fishing pole is pulling a fish out like once every like half an hour or so, and so it's just like hard not to catch a fish.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good point for us to go into our discussion of Liverpool, and let's look at what the player trading has been so far since we last talked to you a month ago. So in incomings, Liverpool have purchased Darwin Nunez from Benfica and Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen, as well as announcing the signing of Fabio Carvalho from Fulham. Mohamed Salah, James Milner, and Joe Gomez have all signed contract extensions to remain with the club. In outgoings, Sadio Mané has been sold to Bayern Munich, Yumi Minamino has been sold to Monaco, and Nico Williams appears to be headed to Nottingham Forest. So let's start our discussion with our goodbyes and talk about Sadio Mané for a little bit. So, Justin, what are your favorite moments of Sadio Mané as a Liverpool player?
There are so many of them, but there's two that come to mind really, really quickly in my head, or really three actually that come to mind really quickly in my head that I think are not amongst the moments that I've really seen mentioned in the wider eulogizing over, or I don't want to use eulogizing, for celebrating the celebration of Mane's career at Liverpool. But the first of which is in his first season against Spurs at Anfield, where he, within 120 seconds of themselves, goes out and bags a brace that goes to win the match 2-0, and it was just a real demonstration of how explosive a player he was, and how much he could just power us and drive us to winning matches. The next one that really comes to mind is a very obvious one, because it pokes the Blues in the face a bit, but it's the rebound of Sturridge's shot that he turns in his first Goodison derby to win in the 94th minute. And there's something really funny, which is if you look at his celebration, he pauses it for a moment because he's anticipating the goal being called offside, and then it's given. He wasn't offside, and it's just a super fun moment because it really pissed in Everton's curios. But then the other two that I think are a bit more of well-known ones were against Barca. He did so much work in the second leg, and he doesn't get a goal. He doesn't get an assist. But he was the man that Barca was keying on for the entire match, because if you were to look at our goal threat, like who is our goal threat in the front three of Origi, Shaqiri, and Mane? It's Mane, but he did so much work and opened up so much space, and it really did create room for the other two to have really, really telling contributions, because obviously we know where that match led to. And then the last one for me is the moment at which I knew we were going to win the Premier League, which is the header against Villa in the 94th minute.
Yeah.
Sticking his head out, there's a boot in his face. It's possibly going to hurt, but he just willed us to win that match. And I really felt once we won that match, I was like, this team is not this team's winning the league this year. Was it, did I expect that we were going to win the league at a cancer at that point? No, but I thought that we would. I thought that was the moment at which we couldn't be denied. And, there's so much more that the man did. I mean, another match that comes to mind as well also is the opening of the new main stand against Leicester, where Mane completely terrorizes them and just opens up a ton of space for Coutinho, a ton of space for Bobby, and a ton of space for Lallana. And we absolutely wrecked him. And that was what the man was like. He was just the ability to create constant chaos and just make defenders players looked not only bad, but just unprepared and like they just didn't want to be playing. Just truly a legend. Love him. Wish him the best of luck at Bayern, except if he has to come to Anfield or we play them at the Allianz.
Those are all lovely moments, and I think that you're right that in the fall of 2019 there were like so many moments when it seemed like Sadio Mané was trying to drag Liverpool to the title by himself and just like showing up at big times and just seemed to always get it done. So Paul, what are your favorite moments from Sadio?
I don't want to be like cliched about it, but I think like his goal against Arsenal was at his debut game, and
Yes.
it was just cutting in because that season he played on the right hand side. That's before Salah had arrived, and he was playing on the right hand side. And just that goal that he scored in that game was just like it was kind of announcing himself and kind of going, yeah, okay, I've played at Southampton. I'm now coming to Liverpool, and here's why Liverpool have bought me. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of like, I can do this stuff, and I can do it for one of the top clubs in the country. And I think, Klopp talked about it, Jurgen has talked about it, like without Mane, we wouldn't have had the Premier League, we wouldn't have the Champions League. He was the catalyst. He was like that kind of first signing. Was it him and Wijnaldum came that summer? And it was kind of like the first signings that kind of signaled where Liverpool were going. And you're kind of like, yeah. So that goal, that debut goal against Arsenal was just like, it was phenomenal, and the celebration that goes along with it, running down Klopp, the whole heap, like that was brilliant. And then I think I was going to say about the Aston Villa goal as well, Justin, because that was such a, as you said, just he caught that game by the scruff of the neck. What we were losing 1-0 with 5 minutes to go, and we turned that one right round. And Mane, as Willology has stuck the photo up there, just that just sticking his head where he was going to get hurt to make sure that we were scoring that goal to win that game. And then the kind of third memory that I have, and again, it's a one that's been talked about loads, is his goal against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, where that ball that just comes into him, and just his touch, his control to swivel, to shield the ball, and then just to tuck it into the net. He made what was a really complicated finish look as if he was just scoring a tap in. And at times, I think that's what Mane did. He made those complicated things look so simple when they were anything but. And I think, Bayern obviously will have looked at that and the possibility of Lewandowski going and went, here's a player who knows, as we would say here, where the onion bag is, knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. And they will look at that and went, there's a great goal scorer who we can kind of, bring into the Bayern Munich fold. But he was just like, I just kind of, as a player, you can understand why he left, because in a way he has won everything that he kind of could win club wise at Liverpool, and in a way it's kind of ticking the boxes and going, yeah, I've completed that, I want to go and try a challenge. So you kind of go, yeah, that's perfect. Gave us, was it 6 good seasons, and some really, really top highlights of memories. So yeah, it's just an incredibly good player to kind of think back on the time that we've had with him.
Yeah, he's a phenomenally talented player. I think for me, it's not like any moment that like stands out. It's more his consistency in the Champions League knockouts.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, he had gone like 2 or 3 seasons like in a row and scored in every single knockout tie. And like to have that level of consistency is just what you need if you want to be at like the highest level. And I think if I remember right, it's like only Karim Benzema has more goals than Sadio Mane in the Champions League knockouts in the last 5 seasons. So, at whatever the like highest level when you need your best players to be on, Sadio Mane was always there.
Yeah.
So, Lubo, you want to give us your thoughts on Sadio Mane?
So you guys have hit on a lot of the moments and the goals, and actually, Paul, I was going to mention that the Villa goal, before he scored the winner, he actually assisted Robo for the
Yeah,
game,
that's right.
for the goal that drew us level with a. And he was all the way over on the right side, which is I have no idea what he was doing there, but he is there, and he pinged the cross was with his left foot over that Lubo was able to head in, which is just highlights his talent. But to me, what I always enjoyed about Sadio is his celebrations. So especially with that trio with Bobby and Mo and even with Phil earlier, some of the early seasons, how they would always he would copy celebrations, he would copy Bobby's celebrations, he was just such a just a nice guy, and you could see the joy of scoring and being a part of the team. And I know a big deal was made back when it happened. But when he had that anger outburst at Mo, was it at Burnley or somewhere? Because we're winning I think it was like we're winning 3-0 at the time, so it didn't really matter. And he was really mad because he thought that Mo didn't really pass to him, and just the anger. Then sitting on the bench, and then Bobby's just sitting next to him, and then later after the game, Bobby's expression, which became a meme. Just all those moments, and of course it was just water under the bridge after that. They continued to play and pass to each other and all of that. But just those moments that had nothing to do with goals, but just his personality that just came off in those moments. It's something that I'm going to miss. But as we said, he's won pretty much everything he could win at Liverpool. And so I hope he has a great time in Bayern.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny that moment that you mentioned, Lubo. That gave airtime to one of the dumbest prolonged narratives ever, which is Mo and Mane not liking each other. And I'm really surprised that one saw the light of day for as long as it did, because it's very obvious those two do like each other.
Oh, absolutely. And you see what came off after this last season, after Senegal won AFCON, and the fact that he asked the team not to celebrate, not to congratulate him out of respect to Mo. Mm-hmm. And after his move to Bayern was announced, what Mo wrote and what Sadio wrote, and you could see they played together for 5 seasons and had so many great moments. You knew they liked each other. They were very competitive, and obviously they wanted to score goals, but more than anything, they just wanted to win.
Yeah, I was surprised that people were even trying to dredge up that narrative as Sadio was leaving, and it never made any sense. And so, you could clearly see that there's a lot of mutual respect there for between them. So as we say goodbye to Sadio, we wish him the best of luck, except for when he plays Liverpool. So looking at the other two that have departed so far this summer, Lou, do you have any parting words for Taki Minamino or Neco Williams?
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for both of them. Just because they came in. Taki came in and he probably knew that he would be a bit player. What he said to I think it was to a Japanese newspaper recently that was translated that he maybe felt a little bit underappreciated for his contributions. But he came in and he had good games. It's in the Cups, especially this year, and he's leaving as a Premier League winner, FA Cup and League Cup winner, and especially for the last 2 competitions, he was quite instrumental. And you knew that even when he came in, that it was a bit of an opportunistic buy, maybe a bit of a depth buy, as the team was really just had the front 3 players available in attack for the most games, and so you kind of knew that Taki wouldn't be here long term for years, but he probably wishes he could have played more, but given how much he played, he had an impact, and I wish him the best. And same for Neco. Neco is probably completing his medical today as we speak, and I hope he has a good career at Forest or wherever else he may go. It's actually a real Neco's story is a really good testament to the academy, especially following up on footsteps of Harry Wilson last year. The fact that the academy can now produce players who can actually be sold for good money to Premier League clubs, and can sustain the academy, and hopefully there's more to follow. But wish him also the best, and it'll be interesting. I'm actually glad that he's going to a Premier League team, so I can get to watch him a bit more.
Yeah, it's like with Neco, it's him being so close in age to Trent really made it difficult for him to get a foothold with the first team, especially since Trent is just otherworldly in terms of his talent. And it's too bad it didn't work out at Liverpool, but he's going to have a great career as it is. So Justin, thoughts on the departures of Taki and Neco?
I mean, I think it's two sales which I think we've actually done well with as far as the fees that we've gotten for them, if reported. Because obviously they both represent a decent amount of profit, right? Considering the fact that you bought Minamino for £7 million and Neco is an academy player. But I think they're really good moves for the two players, because Neco when showed at the championship at Fulham last year is that he's definitely a guy who, he showed for Wales, is that he can definitely play. So, give yourself a shot to actually establish yourself as a Premier League player, which I don't think would have come at him. He just, he might just not be that level of player, but he might really be a Premier League player, and getting the chance to show that, I think it's a good move for him. And Taki is a guy who actually should be playing minutes. I think playing it for Monaco is going to give him a chance to get, the minutes he needs in a team that's always going to be reasonably competitive within the French league. And I think that's good for him, because he's going to want to be really firing going into the World Cup, considering he's probably Japan's best player at the moment. So if you're if you're the best player from your country, you want to really be, firing in all cylinders for a World Cup. And I think it's good for him that he's going to get the playing time. The Leicester game this season in the League Cup was one of my favorite games of the season, and Taki really took that one over and really helped us. So clutch goal. Would have been cool if we'd actually lost on penalties and been missing, but thankfully we didn't. But this seems like a really good guy. He gave his all, and he had a really good goal return for the amount of minutes he played. So all in all, I'm a fan of what he's done, and I appreciate his time.
Yeah, like you said, it's a good move for both players, and I think that Monaco is qualified for the Champions League, so Taki will be able to get some minutes there again, and we might even see him at Anfield if Liverpool get drawn with Monaco at some point. So, Paul, your thoughts on Taki and Neco?
I think this season, probably it hadn't been for both being involved and Taki being involved, essentially the quadruple wouldn't have been on if it wasn't for having them about and having them around. And as Justin said there about the Leicester game, that was kind of a pinnacle game for Taki Minamino, but at the same time you get the feeling that behind the scenes the contribution that he made to the squad, the overall squad, was kind of really important to them, even though he didn't get to play a lot of game time, which is just unfortunate, because when you're a good footballer at a top club, you have to be world class to get the number of minutes that you to kind of push you on to the next level. When you're behind Sadio Mané, Bobby Firmino, Jota, and Mo Salah, and then with Diaz coming in, you just knew that Taki, while being a really, really, really good player, just wasn't going to get the minutes that he needed. But I think, as been said, kind of an opportunistic signing because we knew that at the money we paid for him, 7 million, if it didn't work out, we would probably be able to recoup that fee and some, which is obviously what we've done. We've essentially doubled the money on that, and like I'm not one of these people who kind of goes, we should be a club that just makes opportunistic signings that we can flip players, because I'm kind of the mindset that there is a person involved in that. It's not just a commodity that you can flip quickly and never worry about who that is. So I think there's an element of, we tried obviously to get Taki involved, and even I think his loan to Southampton was done with that kind of thought process of, let's get him accustomed and acclimatized and get him minutes in a Premier League club so that we can bring him back and play him more. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that, and I think the move to Monaco will probably be a move that, as Justin has said, in a World Cup year, as essentially his country's best player, is a move that makes sense for all parties, because we get money for it. He gets game time. Monaco get a good player. He'll still be involved in Champions League, and he'll give himself a great chance for the World Cup. So I think that's a really, really good move. But I also think he has been integral to, especially cup runs and stuff that we've done this season, and even in past seasons. He's had good games and played good stuff for us. So he's been brilliant that way. Just unfortunate that when you're behind the forwards that we have, unless there's major injuries, you're probably never going to get that game time that you would really need, to kick on and push forward. Neco Williams, I think, is just a really bright talent. It's just, again, same kind of scenario. You're behind Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah, who then plays further up the pitch. You've got Harvey Elliott coming in at the right side of number 8. You've got Hendo. You've got, all these. Just finding a place for Neco Williams to fit in our team was never really going to be that easy. And I think probably once he realised that and went out to Fulham on loan and had a really good season there. And I've watched him play for Wales. Internationally, he plays really, really well. So as a player, he's superb, and it's just like, again, unfortunate that there isn't the opportunities at Liverpool. But when you're playing at one of the top clubs in the world, you really, 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 really need to be top of your game to be forcing players like Trent Alexander-Arnold out of game time. And unless Trent was injured, that probably wasn't going to happen. So it's a wise move. It's a move that makes the club money, and like it's a move that shows like good financial acumen to kind of get the price that we have for him. And I think Forest is going to be a really good club for him to play at. Both have been real good players for the club without probably pulling up any trees. And at this point in their careers, really good moves, and we wish them all the best and hope that they have a great career and push on from here, and hope that they never come back to sting us in any games.
It's actually, Paul, you bring up that Forest is a good location for him. He gets reunited with Steve Cooper, a guy who probably has management at some point in the academy.
Totally, without a doubt. I was thinking that earlier. You're exactly right, Justin.
Right, and Taki and Neco are the type of players that you need if you're going to compete on all four fronts, like Liverpool want to do. And so, as we're looking ahead to who's going to be with us next season, we'll look to the who we've signed, and now as we go forward in the podcast. So, Justin, what excites you most about the arrival of Darwin Nunez?
Just the amount of different ways that he could hurt you that we haven't had a forward do in a while. We haven't had a guy who profiles as an out-and-out number 9 probably since Sturridge. I mean, Divock Origi, I guess, is a number 9, but it's a very different kind of number 9. It's a very different level of player. But Darwin Nunez is really going to be the first kind of out-and-out number 9 we're going to have since Daniel Sturridge. And he's probably going to be the most stylistically like Fernando Torres player we've had since Fernando Torres. And we've seen Klopp teams in Germany play really, really well, continue that devastating pressing style with the number 9. I mean, obviously, the name that comes to mind there is Robert Lewandowski. So I think it's the possibility of just seeing a different way of attacking, where maybe we don't have a false 9 dropping in and Bobby doing as much of the work to connect. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how we progress the ball through midfield to the forwards, and I think that's something that I think, might change a bit this season. But I'm just really excited to see a guy who can get on the end of things. And I think he'll also create chaos in the box, which is something that we haven't taken enough advantage of, considering how good we have, delivery in our team between Kostas Tsimikas, Andrew Robertson, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. That I think that there's going to be a lot of, scope for goals that are going to come just from him occupying space and defenders having to worry about him rather than, Bobby or Mane, which, not to insult them, but it's just a very different proposition. A lot less of the kind of orthodox number 9 that, defenders are going to have fits with.
Yeah, I think, like you're saying, his skill set looks different than the other guys that we have. And so it's going to give Klopp a lot of different ways in which he could approach the attack. Should he want to change things, whether that's, different variations within that 4-3-3, or, as is often talked about, an evolution to a 4-2-3-1. So, Lubo, what excites you most about Darwin Nunez?
So I don't really watch much of the Portuguese league, unfortunately. There's about 3. I have enough time for about 3 leagues, and that's usually Premier League, Bundesliga, and La Liga. And so all the other leagues just have to suffer, quote unquote. So I've mostly just seen him. Obviously the 2 games against Liverpool, and I did also see their 2 games against Ajax, I believe it was, when he scored that goal in a way to put them through. And he's impressive. I mean, he's definitely impressive. In fact, I remember especially that second game at Anfield when he kept scoring those goals, and I think one was offside at least. And I kept thinking, is he really that good, or is he just lucky? And I think he's actually quite good because just the positions he was taking, the shots he was taking, you could really he really showcased the talent. And now you're reading players. I forget who was it. Was it Robbo who spoke recently? But there were 1 or 2 players who spoke recently about just the impact and the impression that he had made on them during those 2 games. And so I'm really looking forward to having him. I had posted a while back, a month ago, that probably he's after Mbappe and Haaland, he's probably the best young striker in world football right now. And I think that there's an argument could be made that he's pretty close to Haaland in terms of just overall talent and contributions that he can make. So it actually will be really interesting to see how he does at Liverpool versus how Haaland does at Manchester City. We may end up having our own kind of 2 young strikers coming at the same time in the league and trying to outdo each other as the 2 teams are competing for titles and trophies. So I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for him. I don't know how he's going to play. I think Justin touched on this. Paul touched on this. He's definitely going to add another dimension, maybe more chaos in the box. But I have no expectations. I have no idea how he'll play. I have no idea how much he'll play. But I'm just curious to see him. And we're unlikely to see him on Tuesday at all, but maybe against Palace and then in the preseason, but especially when the regular season starts. I'm definitely going in with really no expectations of him, just really looking forward to seeing how he does, how he acclimates and how he does.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. So, a couple of the interviews that Gags did around the time of the signing, the view from Uruguay and the view from a Benfica fan really seemed like it might take him a little bit of time to adjust to the league and get used to how things are going. And he might have had a little bit of a slow start in Benfica in particular. So it's going to be one to be patient and make sure that allow him the time to acclimate to the team, to the league, and all of that. And it really looks like he will come good in the end, even if he's not like hitting the ground running like some other signings have. So, Paul, thoughts on Darwin Nunez?
Like Lubo, I haven't watched a whole heap of them. It was just essentially those Champions League games. But my goodness, in those games, again, Lubo, as you said, was he incredibly lucky, unlucky with offside decisions, or was he just taking really good positions and our offside trap was just really good for him? But he just looked like he had this natural prowess about him that maybe has been ever so slight criticism of our strike force is that our front three, and with the addition of Jota and Diaz, make incredible runs and make incredible forward play and do score incredible goals. It's not that we didn't score enough goals, but I think one of the criticisms was that maybe in those big games, we think of the finals, think the Champions League final and whatnot, we were maybe just lacking someone who was a complete out and out goal scorer. And that's not to say that Mo and Sadio and Jota and Diaz and Bobby couldn't score goals. That's not that criticism, but it's just maybe that's someone who has that extra little. Justin, you said it, that Daniel Sturridge, that Fernando Torres, that number 9 mindset, who will get on the end of a cross, who will get on the end of a flick, who will get on the end and take up and occupy a space that maybe some of those wide forwards coming inside won't do. And you're kind of looking at it going, yeah, there's a real sense of anticipation and excitement, but you want to temper that and go, he's still young, coming into a new system, playing for a different manager, and no disrespect to Benfica, stepping up a level or two in terms of league and just size of club. And you're kind of going, let's temper our expectations, but at the same time, let's be completely excited because it looks as if we've signed someone who gives us, one or two extra dimensions to our play. And we've heard so much about different formations, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, which is always talked about, never really happens. And I'm more thinking of that 4-2-4 that we've seen happen in different occasions when, Naby has nearly been pushed on as the additional forward through the middle. We've now got another option for just kind of how that's going to work. And you can bring Bobby into the mix with that and still be able to keep, Mo on one side, Luis Diaz on the other side, or Diego Jota. And then you've got Nunez coming through as well. So, we've given ourselves a heap of different options in how we play. And I think actually it wasn't the Champions League games against us. He played kind of more coming off the left and cutting in, and scored his goals kind of coming off the left side like that. So it just kind of gives us, we love our play. We're Trent, or dare I say it, Jordan Henderson with his crosses from right to left. That's kind of something that we work on. So if we have Nunez coming off that left-hand side as well, that left side 9 coming through, then we could be looking at that and going, this is a tactic that we can utilize with them. So I'm very excited for what he's going to bring. But as you said, Matt, let's, we don't want to put pressure and kind of think, oh, he's going to be the answer to a certain question. That let's see how he develops. But we've got the potential there, and hopefully something to grow upon with that.
Yeah, he's a very big talent that looks like he could, power the next iteration of Klopp's attack, and it's just very exciting that he's coming in, and he chose to come to Liverpool over Manchester United, and just really happy that he's decided to join up. So let's stick with you, Paul, and talk about our other young signing, Calvin Ramsey. So where do you see him fitting in?
Well, I think as I've said before to you guys, and maybe said on the last podcast, I know that there were a heck of a lot of clubs interested in him. At a stage, Aberdeen thought Leeds were going to be the club that would take him, but I also know that there's 20 plus clubs were looking at him. So we know that he is, in terms of potential and as a player that has been picked up by a lot of scouts across the country. He is someone who definitely people have been interested in, clubs have been interested in. I think Sam Maguire did a really good article on him and his kind of style, and he's very different maybe to a lot of right backs, which I guess essentially is what Trent is as well, very different than the conventional form, and so that's something that's pretty attractive to us this season. Obviously, you don't I don't expect him to get much game time. It'll obviously be, you would assume, cup games, under 23, under 21 matches, whatever it is this season. That's where he's going to feature most. He'll be in and around the squad, maybe the odd time in a match day squad. I think with the renewal of Millie's contract, dare I say it, you still have some cover at right and left back, with that. So you're not necessarily throwing him straight in big games as a squad player if he's not quite ready for it. You also have Joe Gomez, who's just signed his contract. So I think for Calvin Ramsey, there's no pressure to be like completely hitting the ground run, one signed for the future. But at the same time, you kind of look and go, you know what, he might end up getting more minutes than some of us expect. So I think definitely it's a really astute signing and a shrewd piece of business, especially for the money that we picked them up. As I was told previously, Aberdeen were expecting to get 10 million for him. So the kind of money that we've got him for is really, it's a really good bit of business. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets integrated, and like you said, there's no pressure. He can just come in and get used to the system, develop, get more ready and used to that like big step up from the Scottish League to the Premier League, and maybe get some minutes in some of the cup competitions and get rotated in next few months. So Justin, any thoughts on Calvin Ramsey?
I mean, there's not much that I could say that Paul didn't, because I don't watch the Scottish League, so I haven't seen him play. I read the same article that Sam wrote, which I very much enjoyed, and it got me excited about him as a player. But he's an 18-year-old right back with a manager who is, at the same time as he's very encouraging of youth players, he also makes sure that you get a lot of time to absorb the system before you actually play. So my thoughts for him are basically that he's going to play at, when it suits us, but that might not be in the first half of the season, right? That might be that he just gets some minutes at the ends of games in the league or in the Champions League in, probably maybe like starting in November or so. Now, there's the other thing is, and I think we're going to touch on this, is Joe Gomez has just signed a new contract. He's obviously going to want to play, and he's actually probably right now, as currently constituted, our most known quantity as a backup right now. So I feel like he's going to get a lot of time until Klopp, really determines that he's ready to proceed with Ramsey. But he's also, Calvin Ramsey's only 18, so that might take some time. And if it does, that's fine. He's a young player. We didn't sign him, for the next 6 months. We signed him for the next 6 years.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you're saying, there's going to be lots of opportunity for him to get like bits and pieces of experience with there's 5 subs. The schedule is really packed. So it's just a good situation for him to enter and develop as an 18-year-old. And so that all looks really good. And Lubo, any thoughts you want to add?
Just one thing that Klopp said today, or was it yesterday, about him missing the tour, missing the trip to Asia. Apparently, they discovered something in his medical, not even his medical, when he came to training, and so there's, or as you can imagine, panic on Twitter. He's injured, he's a bust, and it doesn't. It sounds like from what Klopp said that maybe they discovered some weakness or some imbalance, and they're working with him. The coaching staff, the medical staff are working with him to address it now, so it doesn't lead to any long-term issues, which is the right approach. But it could also mean that he's going to be delayed in the preseason, and it could take him a while to really join proper first training and to really get minutes, which is fine, because as Justin said, he's here for the next 6 years, maybe even more, not for the next 6 months. But I'm very curious to see him and to have another Scottish player. Basically, you need Scottish players on the roster to win titles. I think that is the law of the Premier League, at least when it comes to Liverpool. So having 2 of them is even better. Just like with with a lot of young players, also a lot of academy players. We'll just see when he gets minutes and how he looks, and he's definitely one for the future.
Yeah, it'll be 6 years. So let's shift here a little bit, and I'll stick with you, Lubo. Mo Salah has signed his new contract, and I want to ask you, what do you think that means for Liverpool that he's decided to commit his final peak years to the club?
It's only good news, right? I think you want to keep your best players, and Mo Salah is definitely someone that, I mean, I've been very bullish for the last year that he would sign a new contract. I think everybody knew that it wouldn't be a standard contract. It's probably one of the most complicated contracts that Liverpool Football Club has given out to anyone, and definitely it is the most expensive contract Liverpool has given out. But I think it was needed. It's very difficult to find a profile, not just another Mo Salah, but just another player who could help balance the team the way he does. And it was clear that he's wanted to stay. Klopp also spoke about that recently. And even while the negotiations were happening, Mo Salah would always say to Klopp, I want to stay. So when you have a star player who's breaking all sorts of records and who wants to stay and play for the club, you just have to make it happen. And I'm not going to go into a discussion of the wage structure and what this means for the future of new contracts for other players. What it means to me is that one of the best players in the world is going to be a Liverpool player for at least 3 seasons. There's some talks that there may be even an option for another year based on various appearances or whatever. So if that means that we get to enjoy Mo Salah for another 3 or 4 years and maybe even more, that's great. Everything else, the money, the impact on the wage structure, all of that it's for the accountants to figure out. As a fan, I'm just really happy I'll get to continue to watch the Egyptian King.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really cool that Liverpool have a player on their roster that can challenge for all-time records, right? He's gonna stick around for the next 3 years, and he could get to at least second, third all-time goal scorer in the history of the club, and that's really awesome. So Justin, your thoughts on Mo Salah extending his contract?
I fail to see how it could be anything except for just a giant positive. Like Lubo said, you want to keep your best players. Plus, also, I think that he really means a lot to the city of Liverpool as well. And, a guy who's just had a mural painted on the way that the bus passes to go to Anfield for the players' bus passes to go to Anfield for games is obviously a man who is an icon. And you want those guys to stay. I think it really helps build the connection to the club amongst supporters that we are going to start to see things, hopefully, where, if we have a really great player, we're keeping them for the entire part of their prime. And we get to build up, those modern day legends so that, there's, not just talking about Liverpool's history, and we're not talking just about Kenny or Rush or Gerrard, but we're talking about players who are living legends wearing the shirt now, who are going to continue to do, to break records and do things in a Liverpool shirt. And Mo is, he's, it's so easy to see all those things happening because, we all know the best moniker when you're comparing him to anybody else in the Premier League, only Salah.
Right. And he's just unbelievable in terms of his talent. And it's so great that retain that type of talent, and it can do nothing but help when you're recruiting sort of that next group. When you can say, look at what Salah has done. You're going to develop this attachment to the city, to the fans, and that's just going to be the thing that drives your career. You're going to win trophies, and it just seems like it's all pointing in the right direction. So your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think weirdly, I would say that in our system, Mane was probably the easier one of the two to replace, just because of the players that were available on the market currently. So the likes of Diaz, you replace Mane, the left forward. The likes of Nunez, you can replace Mane, the number 9. I think with Salah, just across the profile of European football, there isn't anyone who you could replace. So replace him with, and it was going to be a massive challenge. So I think from tactically, and from a team standpoint, then it's a really great signing for us, because we don't need to make dramatic tactical changes based on the fact that he had left, if you know what I mean. Mane, we have players who can slot in and play that that role that he's been playing. But if Salah had left and Mane had stayed, you're kind of going, right, well, who plays where? How do we set up? Where do we go? I just think generally from that side of things, it's massive that we had signed. Again, like Lubo, I was one of these people who wasn't that worried, because I honestly thought that he was going to renew his contract. I'd said it maybe last summer. I definitely said it in January that I had no worries. I thought it was going to be more of an optics thing. I thought it was going to be more a case of there's other things going on behind the scenes that will happen, that will come to light, and then we'll announce Mo, and that'll be like a feel-good factor. What maybe a lot of us didn't realise was that Mane was going to go to Bayern Munich. That was going to be the kind of piece of news that would break. And I also think the club handled it incredibly respectfully, where they let that sit. They let people come to terms with that. They celebrated Mane, the player who had played at Liverpool, who had won all the trophies, let that sit for a week. And then the news about Salah starts to break, and we do a really nice contract extension renewal video and everything that kind of breaks that way. And I thought the club handled it really, really good. And it's only a positive. Like it's been said before, it is only a positive that Mo Salah has renewed for us. Probably doesn't get enough credit across the rest of the Premier League for how good a player he is. But I think Liverpool fans just absolutely adore the man and what he brings to the club, and it's just phenomenal that we've got him signed for another 3 seasons. And it'll probably allow us to transition someone like Kyle Gordon or find the next kind of player who'll fit the profile that Klopp or Pep Linders or whoever wants to kind of come through and play in our attack. We're starting to build the next iteration and generation of Liverpool forward and Liverpool attacking, and having Mo around for the next 3 seasons minimum is only a good thing for that.
Yeah, it's a very integral piece for continuity from the previous generation to the next generation.
Yep.
So I think that's a good point to start looking ahead to the rest of the summer. So preseason has started. Liverpool flew to Thailand today, and I think they have their first game there on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. We're also expecting some players to be departing either on loan or be sold, as well as I think we're still anticipating some additional contract extensions. So, Justin, at this point in time, do you think Liverpool need any additional signings?
I don't think that we need any additional signings for this season per se. I wouldn't say no to them, but I do think that there's probably enough of a squad and enough of the squad quality to compete in both the Champions League and the Premier League. Because I don't want to touch the third rail that is talking about Liverpool's midfield, but I just think we have enough midfielders, and I think the important thing is, like, obviously we're talking about Bellingham for next season. I'd love to bring him in for this season, but if we have to wait an extra season for that player and that's who we want, I'd rather we just do that, because typically waiting for who we've wanted when it's a real special transformational player has worked for us, and I would rather I'd rather obviously have it done earlier, but I would just love to complete that particular transfer. When it happens is the part that we have no control over.
Yeah, I think that's right. It could be this summer. It could be one of those things where it's like they do a deal ahead of time, but that's sort of not in our control. And I agree with you that like the need for another signing is like not really there. Like Liverpool have 21 senior players, or you one players that will be part of the squad. So like that's a big enough group to get you to compete on all fronts. And if Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain decides to go, then that need for another player becomes greater. But only if he decides to go. So, Lubo, do you think Liverpool need any additional signings?
So, I mean, if you have been on Discord and seen my opinions there, AnfieldIndex.com/Discord, you know that I've been of the opinion, like Justin is, that for this coming season, there's enough players. Obviously, this summer was about renewing the attack with bringing in Ramsey and signing Joe Gomez to a new contract. It has been about stabilizing the defense for the next several years. And so the midfield, there's 8 midfielders. Fabio could play there as well. So there's a lot of bodies. As Justin said, for the plan for the midfield is really the next 2 to 3 seasons, because you have Milner, because you have Henderson, because you have Thiago, all in their 30s. And then even Fab, I think he's going to turn 30 pretty soon. So there are some really important players who will have to be replaced. I mean, there's hoping that maybe someone from the academy can come up in the next year or two. There's a lot of hope for Stefan Bajsedic, but he's only 17. Balagizi also could be a talent. He's only 18. So there will need to be high talent players coming in. I just don't know. I don't think we necessarily need a new addition for this coming season. There's enough bodies, as Justin said, but it's looking ahead for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And if the best time to bring someone in is this summer, great. If it means waiting until next summer, also great. But Liverpool definitely have a plan, and because of the types of players you're going to be looking to replace, like Thiago, like Henderson, you don't want to bring in players who are just going to be your number 8th, number 9th midfielder. You really want to bring midfielders who can be, maybe not immediately, but in a couple of seasons, who can be your frontline starters. You want that high-end talent players. And so if it means that you then want to wait a year or 2 years even for some of these players to become available and then bring them in, that makes the most sense. That just makes the most sense to me. So it's been a fun summer. I imagine from now on it's mostly going to be outgoings and then monitoring the market, right? And see if one of those targets becomes available this summer. But if it doesn't, there's always next summer.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it's like Liverpool have a lot of good players, and so they don't need to be in a hurry to get a deal done just to get a deal done. And so they can just sort of wait to make sure that they get the right player in, because it's all about that long-term planning. So, Paul, your thoughts on whether or not another signing is needed?
I think you guys have covered it. Honestly, I don't think we need another signing. I don't think there's a massive, gap that needs filled. Is there a position that could possibly need upgraded? I don't think there's an argument against saying that in the midfield we probably should be looking for the next replacements for certain players, but at the same time we're not in that panic where we need to get someone in. So if Jude Bellingham happens this summer, next summer, whatever, it's great. I also think there's still January transfer window as well, so if something needs reassessed, we still have midway through the season, we have that opportunity to kind of look at that side of things. So I don't think there's any massive need to kind of be pushing for someone. That being said, an opportunity arises for a player that we want, then we can go for him, and that would be awesome. But no, do I think we need someone? Do you think we need someone straight away? Definitely not. But I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's a very good place to be in with Liverpool's roster. Just it's always nice to be at the top. So
Yep.
let's move to our final thoughts and wrap things up. Justin, thanks for joining us today. Do you have anything that you would like to plug or any final thoughts?
I mean, as far as plugs goes, the beginning of the season's coming, and I think I would just encourage people. It's a great way to meet other Reds in your area. Look up your local supporters club, and go watch a game with them because a lot of this is about community, right? We all go into this Discord and shout at each other all day because we generally actually like interacting with each other. So I'm just saying go find other Reds and watch matches with them. It's a really good way to make friends.
Yeah, good. That's a good point there. Is to look up your local supporters club and go talk to other fans in person. It's always a good experience. So Lubo, do you have any final thoughts or plugs?
I don't have plugs. Well, if you're listening to this podcast, keep listening. If you also listen to Anfield Index podcasts, maybe there's a podcast that you haven't listened to before. There's a lot of really good ones. Just give some of those podcasts that maybe you haven't listened to before, give them a try. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of really good people contributing. So I'll just keep plugging that. And then I also just say, just enjoy the games. We've got a few games coming up. Man United next, then Palace, then the preseason, and then Community Shield. I honestly, my focus is very much shifting from thinking about transfers and reading about transfers to just watching games and just seeing how players do, and just thinking about the season that's going to be upon us in literally 2 to 3 weeks with the Community Shield. So just enjoy the football. I would say focus more on the football and less on the transfers.
I think you were saying there, Matt, have any closing thoughts? I would say my closing thought just around this is exactly what Lubo's just said there. The summer is a time to kind of relax, enjoy, and as much as it's a chance for players to recharge the batteries and get themselves ready for the next season, I think it's also a good chance for supporters to kind of calm down after the season that's just been, regroup ourselves after missing out on the Champions League and on the league. And get ready to be fully behind the team and the club going into the new season. It's going to be a bit of a mental one. Probably by the time we come to record again, but I would say we'll have played the Community Shield. And we might even be into the start of the season. So just take these next couple of weeks just to kind of recharge the batteries. Don't worry about who may or may not transfer and sign and who's going here and who's going there. I would say the big thing is the club always have a plan. This management team, this coaching structure always have a plan. The recruitment team, they know what they're doing. Even under Julian Ward, a change of tact there and a change of personnel there has not made any difference. In terms of the club has a plan, we know what we're doing. We just have to stay relaxed and keep following that and keep believing in what they're doing. Just enjoy the summer. And if you are listening to this and you've followed on Twitter or you've kind of caught someone sent you a link to a free podcast, by all means, bounce on to AnfieldIndex.com, buy a subscription, jump on the Discord. You're guaranteed to be entertained in some shape or fashion, whether it's an argument or a funny story or something. It's a great community on there, and it's definitely worth the small amount of money that it costs to join Anfield Index as a pro member.
Yeah, that's a good place to come to a close. As far as the schedule for this podcast, I think we're going to try to come to you again in about 3 weeks to do a season preview. So hopefully we'll be talking to you again then. Thanks for listening, and until we do talk to you at that point, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.